John Rady and I have just come out with a new book about ADHD entitled ADHD 2.0 New Science and Strategies for Thriving with Distraction. It has a lot of new material in it, but it's the shortest of all of our books on this condition. Why did we make it so short? Because we wanted to compact everything into it for the readership that doesn't want to read long books. What's in it that's new? Well, first of all, John and I came up with a new name for the condition. We know it won't be officially designated as this, but ADHD is in fact a terrible name. It's not a deficit of attention that we have. I have it myself. We have an abundance of attention. The challenge is to control it. And we don't see it entirely as a disorder because there are so many positive qualities that are associated with it. So our new name for it, we humbly submit, is Variable Attention Stimulus Trait, which stands for VAST. And it is indeed a vast condition, Variable Attention Stimulus Trait. Wouldn't you rather have that than a deficit disorder? So that's one thing that's new. Another thing that's new is our including research about the cerebellum. The cerebellum is a part of the brain at the back of the brain that actually has 70 to 80% of the neurons in the brain. Traditionally, the cerebellum was thought to control balance and coordination. But we now know, thanks to Jeremy Schmahmann at Harvard Medical School, that the cerebellum is richly connected to the frontal lobes, which is where the action is in ADHD. And it turns out if you do physical exercises that stimulate the cerebellum, you can see dramatic improvement in ADHD symptoms. Do the exercises 15 minutes twice a day for 3 to 6 months. Remarkable non-medication intervention that helps people with ADHD, the cerebellar stimulation. We also talk about research based on brain scans on the default mode network. It turns out when you're doing something actively, different areas of the brain light up in aggregate called the task positive network. When the task is finished, that shuts down, and what lights up is the default mode network, the DMN, which we call the demon, because the DMN typically puts out a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative thinking, negative imaging, rumination, brooding. It's when you get down on yourself, down on life, and people with ADHD are notorious for getting sort of transfixed in these negative patterns. Simply by stopping feeding the demon, don't feed it with your attention, you can shut it off. Get back into the TPN, the task positive network. So do something to shut off the brooding. Don't take a medication, just do something. Focus on your breathing even to redirect your attention from the DMN to the TPN, the task positive network. We also go into some detail about the power of exercise. John has written another book on that topic and he expands it here. We tout exercise as one of the very best treatments you can give yourself to unwrap the gifts, as we like to say, inherent in the condition of ADHD. We also talk about the power of having a creative outlet, which we call your right difficult. You see, if you combine something that is challenging, a task that is challenging, an activity that is challenging, that also matters to you a great deal, that's your right difficult. And if you put a lot of effort into that, you tend to blossom. My right difficult, for example, is writing. I discovered it in 12th grade in high school when I wrote a novel, and I've been writing books ever since. This is my 21st book. If you pursue the right difficult, yes, it is difficult, but because it matters to you and it's challenging and you have some aptitude for it, you pursue it, and the interfering parts of ADHD subside while you're doing it, and you thrive. Finding the right difficult is one of the very best ways to thrive with ADHD. Find an activity that taps your creativity, that's challenging, that matters to you. For me, it's writing. For someone else, it might be playing golf. For someone else, it might be cooking. Doesn't matter what it is, but find your right difficult. We also have a chapter on the importance of considering medication, and we go through the different medications that are now available, new and different from the last book we wrote. Medication is in no way essential in the treatment of ADHD, but it is a powerful tool in the toolbox. We also talk about nutritional interventions and which one of those might be most effective for you. Taken in aggregate, there's a lot of new material in ADHD 2.0. Above all, it's our strength-based approach. We think of working with folks who have this condition not as treating a disorder, but as unwrapping their gifts. ADHD 2.0 will help you or your child or your spouse or your employee unwrap the gifts embedded in this fascinating condition.